Marissa said, how do I identify pain from SIJ or my L4-5, F5S1? Marissa, that is a very good question. We covered this a little bit earlier on, right? You can't control these individual segments. What you've most likely got is a better description of your issue is that it's the whole lot. And do you know why? Because you rehab the whole lot. You can't do SIJ rehab or L5S1 rehab or L4-5 rehab. How do you stabilize any one of these joints? Exactly the same way. The detail of the herniated L4-5 on the left-hand side, where it's going out like this, as opposed to the right-hand side, is there for the surgeon that needs to make sure he goes in on the right side or the correct side. It's not there for you or I from the rehabilitation point of view. But your rehab work, you do the same. Because when you're doing, for example, a squat, you are stabilizing your SIJ, you are stabilizing your L5S1, you are stabilizing your L4-5, 3, 2, 1, TL. You're stabilizing the whole lot if you're doing it correctly. When you're doing a step up, it's a little bit more asymmetrical, challenging, but you're still doing exactly the same thing. Now, if you had what one might say is an SIJ issue, but I don't really subscribe to those kind of diagnoses. I think lumbar spine you can more formally diagnose. SIJs tend to, if they are actually problematic, they are more problematic as a consequence of significant dysfunction in the lower back and a second order issue. Often because we've been doing so much knee hugs and hugging and pulling this kind of stuff that we have actually created a little bit of aggravation or irritation. But the same things that you'll be doing, for, like hugging the knees, all that, it just flares out the SIJs as I was mentioning earlier. So I would focus a little bit more on just doing your rehab and stabilizing the whole lot, because it doesn't change whether it's an SIJ or L5S1, and you can't functionally realistically differentiate. Like if you could get someone who's got an L5S1 disc issue on the right hand side and like doing that, they suck at it. Why? Because they're letting their pelvis tilt. That would also bother the person with the SIJ issue as well. One of the, and I've been reflecting on, some of the provocative testing that we use, right? One of the tests is a Kemp's test or a facet provocation test. People say, if you bend forward and it hurts, I'll choose the neck so you guys can see it. Same thing with the lower back. Oh, well, that's going to be a disc. And if you bend backwards and it hurts and you go this side and you tilt back, oh, that's going to be a facet joint. But the reality is, if you've got a bit of disc, like as you bend forwards and you strain, yeah, that can stretch the disc, but if the disc isn't fresh enough, if it's got a little bit of tolerance, it might not necessarily be that painful, or if it's a bit chronic. And equally, if we've got a bit of disc bulging back here, when we bend backwards to compress the facet joints, we're also closing these holes, and that might be pinching around a disc bulge and inflammation and creating pain, which we would diagnose as a facet joint problem, but actually it's the fact that we close the hole around the disc that's injured and there's a lot of inflammation, and actually it's more related to the disc itself.